have you learned? Programmed to beat you. What have you learned? It was programmed to beat you. have you learned? I was programmed to beat you. Same mistakes. I was programmed to beat you. Humans, what have you learned? I was programmed to beat you.
is, but here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Hello, and welcome back to FRLT Tier 1. I do apologise. I do apologise for being very, very late here tonight, but I've literally had to run through the door. So it is very nice to be back. Cots will be joining me very shortly. He's also having some problems with getting back and getting onto the stream. So he should be here midway through qualifying. We're just getting into it. So let's have a quick look. We're going to Abu Dhabi this week for round 6 before we have our break week. 5.281 kilometers, 3.281 miles, 16 turns, 2 DRS zones down the double back straight. Across some of the most infamous corners, the rising turn 2, 3, and 4. Up the hill and down the hill is how it really goes there. The calendar this season, as you can see, it's the wrong calendar. Why is this the wrong calendar? Oh my god. But the driver standards are correct, actually. AMS continue to absolutely bolster their championship, but absolutely be miles ahead of ABE on 144 points, 63 points in the lead of the championship. Last week we saw CRE move up into 3rd, TTRE drop down to 5th now in the constructors. TIR brought home a decent points finish. Ultimately, sadly, as of tonight, as I found out earlier on today, DLF P1 will be pulling out of the championship. That's why we only have 18 drivers here tonight. But as we're getting into qualifying now, we are here finally. In qualifying, we finally made it to the actual main event of the night. Well, the main event, of course, is the race. But the sort of first event of the night, shall we say. So now, as you see, we're heading down towards this sort of long back straight. The first driver out is currently Ellis, also known as Ellis the Great. Now, Ellis, I'm just going to call him Ellis. I'm not going to say that full name every single time. So, as you see, Ellis is making his way round at the moment. He'll be the first driver to cross the line. We've got already quite a few drivers out on track. But we're already almost 2 minutes into the session. And nobody has even started the lap yet. So it just shows that maybe people aren't 100% ready to get going just as of yet. Shows people taking a little bit more time to get going here tonight. So as you can see, Ellis making his way around. Let's run on board the MAR car. So he makes his way around. You can see the rear sliding a little bit there. Maybe the car not exactly liking him at the moment. But we're going to be watching Ellis as he goes on the first lap of tonight here in round 6 of the season. AMS lead the championship, but MAR need a big points haul here tonight. Let's see how Ellis can do. Heading down towards turn 1, throwing the car in at about 60 meters. Very nice there. Again, now heading up the hill through turn 2. Now heading through the long right hand of turn 3 all over the curb. Now down the hill through turn 4, just a small kink to the left. Now heading towards the hairpin of turn 5, braking very hard, about 50 meters in. You've got to get the apex right, and you've got to get the braking all right. And he does that through turn 6. Now, as he heads down the first time with DRS in this lap, he's going to be heading down towards turn 7 and 8 at huge amounts of speed, as he's going to hit the braking zone for turn 8 now. 100 meters braking. Now into turn 7, followed by turn 8. Very nice there from him. Exactly what he needed. Exactly what he needed here tonight. Now heading up towards the changed bit of the circuit that was changed 3 years back, and now there he goes, very nice through there once again. The car being very stable for the MAR driver here tonight, exactly what he'll be hoping for. Now into the last small technical section. This always gets drivers off with a little bit of camber that comes over these corners. So far, very nice from Ellis so far. Now heading into the final 2 corners, almost pretty much flat out now. for that one corner, for the penultimate corner. Now the final corner, you have to brake a bit. But it's a 1 minute 22.197. It's the first time to beat here tonight. And that is the time that everybody will be chasing. CIE Desktop can't beat that. He does a 1 minute 23. He's quite far off the pace this evening already off the start of the session. Sasoi can't beat that either. He only does a 1 minute 22.2. Our current championship leader not going fastest off the start of the session. DeVito makes his return to the championship, by the way. And he's making his return for TTRE. He was with STR last season for multiple races. But he only goes P3. Takubi only goes P4. Second slowest. Gatcha now goes second slowest, P5. I'm not sure who's coming up to the line next. That is Axel, CRE Axel. He just misses out on the fastest time so far. He goes P2 ahead of Sasoi now, because we're going to see the time start to catch up. Kevin only goes P7, 1 minute 22.9 is what's having him there. 12, NTN goes into P6, a 0.5 sitting there. YS Brand can't beat that and only does a 22.6. Slightly slower, 600 slower exactly, as he only goes P7. We now look to Barbance, the man who's really been fast this season. He goes P4 behind his main championship rival, Sasoi. They've had a few of their incidents this season. Rising Moon, I think we just saw, went P9. So he's not going too quickly so far. We've got Azurk, who's next closest to the line. I believe it is Penguin, who's the next closest. He's just invalidated on his lap. So the next closest is going to be, ultimately, the man of Azurk will be the next man to cross the line. Heading down into the final corner. Oh, massive slide from Azurk there. And across the line he goes. Only P9. Just behind his teammate by exactly 1/10 of a second. But it isn't enough. Phoenix only goes slowest of all. It's Jelma goes into 13th. We've got Harrison coming round. We've got Eston, who can't do it. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to say your name. I don't know. I'm all over the place. We've got Harrison, who's coming around the final line for TIR. They need a big improvement this race, but they don't. P15 and P16, the two slowest of the drivers with lap times. Penguin, next driver up on his lap. Goes a little bit deep through this section, almost losing the car as well. I don't think he is pushing. No, he's not. He's not pushing here. He hasn't got enough fuel to push, so I think he invalidated his run. So a bit of disappointment there for Penguin. Ultimately, Ellis, first man to cross the line, and ultimately the man to go fastest of all off of the first run. 16 drivers have set their first runs. And hello, Cots. I shall welcome you to the stream now because you are actually here.
You did it this week. You remembered to welcome me this week instead of just leaving me in silence. But
don't join late.
Yes. So yes, who's this Ellis guy? Then?
Ellis. He changes his name basically every time we see him. Ellis the Great, as it should be, as he currently is. Really good, strong, fast run. I expect to see drivers like Sasoi, Barbance, Takubi, YS Brand, see a few of these drivers who we know are very fast in qualifying, go ahead of him. But for the first time this season, MAR are looking like they're really on the pace from the start. Usually we've seen in qualifying, MAR have been a bit off in qualifying. They've been sitting sort of even behind teams like DLFP1. So, there's been a few times where they've been sort of sitting further behind. But this time round, they really are pushing for pole. And, I mean, there's still a high 1 minute 21 that's still sitting in the balance here that definitely, I think, on second and third runs, Ellis could definitely achieve.
And that's, some drivers really, really specialise at certain circuits. And I think this is what we're seeing today with Ellis. It could be the case that he really, really is just quality at Abu Dhabi. Because he's gone ahead of Sasoi, he's gone ahead of Barbance, I mean, he's gone ahead of Axel, who I've also raced with in the past. So I've got high clientele and, high knowledge of two of these drivers now because I've raced alongside Sasoi and Axel in the past. And Axel is a good friend of mine. I'm very intrigued to see how he does.
Definitely, I do agree. By the way, to the question of where are the two AERO drivers, one's Penguin in 18th and the other is currently 13th, and it's Jelma.
Can I have an invite, please?
We've got a man on a lap and you're wanting invites.
From somebody.
You evil. You're evil.
Yes. Well, I'm significantly more important, so
Yeah.
he's
You
not
can tell
improving
yourself
anyway.
that.
It's
You
fine.
can tell yourself that. It's you can say that.
He's a tenth down. Listen.
Mhm. Is he? No, he's 3/10 up.
Oh, on this. Oh, my stream's slightly behind then.
Yeah.
Thank
that
you
was
very
sector
much.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so desktop improving by near on 3/10 of a second. This will claw him back, but only claw him back to P11, by the way, or possibly P10. As it currently stands, he will only go P10, so he's not looking like the fastest man out there. He's still looking like, there's one side of CIE struggling. He's ultimately going to come into the pits. He's not happy with his lap. He wants more from his lap, of course. Because that, you'd expect a little bit more, wouldn't you? Ellis, currently down a 10th, actually. Just over a 10th off of the middle sector, sliding all over the place. He's struggling as well with the car. Other drivers may be struggling on their final runs. He almost spins it into the final corner, by the way. He does almost spin it into the final corner. Do you think drivers are struggling a bit with their tyres now for some reason? They seem to be struggling a little bit with their tyres.
From the looks of it, I think, especially, and I don't know how much this does affect it, but the later on they get in the day, Suzuki's going purple, by the way. The later on they go in the day, I'd imagine the grip goes as the dew rises. But Suzuki is heading around the final few corners. He's not really affected by these problems that anybody else has been affected by in these last couple of minutes. And he's going to come around the final couple of corners pretty smoothly, actually. And through the final one he goes. What sort of time is Suzuki going to set? It's going to be a 122.259. He does not improve on his position. But with the purple second sector,
This isn't full qualifying, by the way. This is just short. I don't know why people keep on asking about full qualifying. We've had this for about 3 streams in a row now. People, we literally do this every week for every single championship we have. So Takubi finding that time when even Sasoi couldn't. We're looking to Gatcha, who's improving by a quarter of a second at the moment. That's going to find him currently up to P6, by the way. So he's P6, around P6, maybe P7. Let's see what he does across the line. He actually goes P6 in the end, so he finds quite a bit of time. Some drivers are finding time. Others are rather struggling to find the time as Eston goes fastest of all. Wow. That is one lap. I know it's only slightly faster, 700s faster. But nobody else has been able to improve on their second runs, that much. But he just found 2/10 in his lap. And that's the improvement he needed to find. We got Azurk, who's coming around. He's invalidated on his lap, so he's done. Penguin's coming around. He's invalidated as well. A lot of people coming in.
DeVito. I'm not sure if he's pushing on his lap. I think he is. I think he's pushing. That's a very tight line to go through the penultimate corner, and he's not pushing.
YS Brand is.
Yes.
Pushing. Let's see what he can do. He needs to really improve from P11, to hold on to their championship lead. He only goes half a tenth faster, and that keeps him in P11. No improvement there.
John was about to set a lap.
No,
I don't think anybody's on a push
Charlie.
at the moment.
I'm joking, bro. I'm not being serious. We have so many people who watch these streams now. I don't even know who's who anymore. I've lost count. I've lost count of who's who. I'm just seeing these comments in the chat, and I'm not taking it seriously, bro. I'm just there's so many people I don't even know anymore. Anyway, I thought I mentioned
Rising Moon is coming around the final couple of corners. Going back to the action, stop you arguing with the comments. He's going to set a time of a 1:12.6. It's an improvement, but not by much. Jelma now. He's going around his lap. Is there anybody further on in their lap? I don't believe so. No, Isbrand has invalidated, and Ellis is on his outlap. So yeah, Jelma.
Phoenix is on a lap.
Phoenix was Phoenix. He's
TIR.
Yeah, he's ahead.
They need a big race this time round. They only scored, I think, 4 points last race. They need a really big race this time round. They've gone the last sort of. Let's be honest, they've gone the last sort of 1 or 2 races really unnoticed, very quiet.
How's that not invalid? But
yeah, that's my question. But they've gone the last sort of one or two races, very quiet, not really getting a lot, half a second up, but only P15. They really do need to find some more time, don't they? They need to get their qualifying back in order. They need to, find their qualifying pace, and they do show race pace. They showed it last time around. They struggled in qualifying, but they came back in the race and they got 4 points. But what happened to the races when they had in Mexico and Imola, a win and a double points? They haven't really had that since. They've really struggled to break inside of that top 7 since their win. Could it be a bit of a curse? Because we saw it with CRE, didn't we? They struggled for 2-3 races to really find themselves, back into the chance of podiums, back into the chance of getting wins. And could it be that? Do you think it could be a potential sort of curse maybe going on for teams? Because CRE, they haven't done much better than TIR in the last few races when it comes down to qualifying, because one of their drivers struggles and the other one doesn't. But this time round, like last race, both drivers are struggling at TIR.
I think it's a case of the teams at the top are getting faster because the drivers that are at the top are being trusted more with setups, and I think they're just bouncing off each other, which is seeing them improve. And that's why, for example, AMS, who keep switching around their second driver, keep performing, because they're going into a team that is completely prepared for. They're going into a team that's completely prepared for any sort of condition, because they've been there and they know how to win. And obviously we saw Alessio Broghi, and then who was it last week in Austria who was very, very good? I think snagged a podium. I'm trying to remember now.
Wasn't it? Was it? I think it was Rising Moon. I think
it was somebody. But
yeah, it was Rising Moon because it was ART last week.
They go and yeah. But all the drivers coming out now for their final runs, and you can imagine it will be carnage as all the drivers try to pick up those minimal improvements, and they only need minimal improvements, as there's only 9/10 separating the entire field, ignoring Penguin. Thank you, MAR Harry in the chat for that. But there is only 9/10 separating the entirety of the field, so it's not like anybody is too far adrift. It's not like nobody is in, no man's land down at the bottom, maybe 1.5 seconds down. They're all so close, and they're all, if they can iron out any sort of mistakes, or they can pick up a slipstream from somebody, which by the way is banned from your own teammates. You're not allowed to do that from your own teammates.
Which is, I think, a difference that I think we're seeing a change, after COTA, when I made it clear that there wouldn't, teams couldn't give each other slipstream down in qualifying. I think there was a change between, you saw the change, the teams weren't caring so much about where they, if their drivers were near to each other. It was a lot more of just get the drivers out in space and see what's good for them. And I think we've seen a lot more of that since, I brought about the rule of no slipstream. Of course, the slipstreams has become weaker, and Kevin getting a little bit feisty with the car there. Is he still going? Is he still pushing? I think he is, actually. I think he's still going for it. But yeah, so...
But there's still two sets of teammates who are close together on track. You've got the AMS drivers and the TIR drivers who are back to back. Although,
to see.
Yeah, especially the AMS drivers, because there is a Phoenix has just been overtaken by somebody, Penguin, who's on his final run.
Kevin's down on his lap. I think there's a driver.
Estember's gone purple in his first sector.
Desktop, by the way. He's the next one to cross the line, actually, on a lap. Is he improving in the middle sector? He's up by 7/10, by the way, so he's finding a lot of time in the middle sector. Maybe Desktop is the one we should be looking at for potential pole, for that provisional pole position, because look at him. He's up 7/10 in the middle sector. If he finds a whole second, it's going to put a 10th between him and the current pole position time. Everybody's made it across the line in time. There's a yellow flag. I'm not sure who that is. I'll have to look in a minute. But qualifying is now over. Desktop's going to cross the line to be the first. He's going to almost get there, but just miss out. P5 in the end. Next driver to cross the line. There's DeVito who's going slowly. Next driver to cross the line is Penguin. Estember.
Estember's he's improving on his lap by just under a tenth. He's probably going to need more of an improvement. But this is the sort of time that we want to set just under or just above even the 121s. And if anybody can dip into the 121s, they will be taking pole position here today as drivers are coming across the line and setting their times. And Suzoy sets a time of a 121.8. He takes pole position provisionally. I don't think anybody else is improving. Barban says, but he's not improving by enough. He's only into third place. Who's next? NTN, Axel, Kevin, Rising Moon's going to come across the line. Phoenix doesn't improve. Who's that coming across the line now? I think that was NTN. Kevin is also improving.
Nope, he's
just trying to keep up. Oh, he's just spun. He's not improving anymore. Yelmer's invalidated his lap. So that is going to be your grid for the FRLT race in Tier 1 around Abu Dhabi.
I have to say, that was quite close between all of the drivers there. I don't think anybody could disagree that that was not close. I think definitely Sasoi pulling out a lap time. Was Sasoi the leading driver out of the two AMSs?
He was.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I was just double checking because who knows? Because with the amount of cars everywhere.
Well, he may have overtaken Isbrand on that last lap, but Isbrand did set a competitive time, so it's not like he was sacrificing his own lap. Yeah. He set a 122.050. So,
Sasoi on pole once again. This man. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to look at the sort of qualifying because, of course, we were saying about the whole grid being split by 9/10. It's now split by what, a second, 1.1 seconds, something like that. And yes, there's a bigger gap now, but Sasoi did put in a tremendously faster time, 0.3 faster, by the way. But look at the grid from third downwards. It's just third to seventh is crazy. But let's go through the grid. Sasoi is on pole with Eston in second, Barbant's third, LS fourth, Takubi fifth, Axel sixth, Desktop 7th, Gatcha 8th, DeVito 9th, Rising Moon 10th, Harrison 11th, NTN in 12th, Alpha Kevin in 13th, YS Brand 14th, Azek 15th, Gelman 16th, Phoenix 17th, Penguin in 18th and last without a lap time, 1.1 seconds splitting the entire grid. But you gotta say, even with 1.1 seconds, that's still a pretty close grid, especially compared to usual. That's still a pretty close grid compared to sometimes what we see around other tracks. I mean, around Austria, it was a bigger gap, wasn't it, between first to last? Definitely, I think it was about 1.4 seconds. So we've actually had a closer gap here than in the last qualifying.
Good. I mean, being close in qualifying generally equates to being close in the race, and that's what we're really aiming for. We want everybody to be in contention for the race. And it's not like it's esports where they're going to follow each other through for 25, 30 laps, whatever it's going to be today. They are going to try to fight, and it does create a lot of racing action.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that we're going to have to see. You know, yeah, the drivers are close, but we're going to have to see who is going to be willing to... This is where now... Yeah, I do agree with Bence there, by the way, saying in the chat, everybody has time in their lap. Quite true. I do think some people, of course, I think we saw some people making some mistakes in validating stuff when they were up. So, I mean, we can't rule out that the grid could have been, with another 5-6 drivers, could have been quite different in there. I think we saw 4 or 5 drivers improving the end of the middle sector, and then I think invalidating. So, you know, there were a few drivers who could have really mixed up grid order. But on the track, we know that DRS trains were a bit of a thing around here. But the great thing about Abu Dhabi, though, with the grid being so close, is even though the grid is so close, it's going to show that, you know, which driver wants to brake latest, which driver wants to push their car to the limit, want to push it all the way to the edge of, you know, the track. You know, who wants to go all the way, and I think that's going to be an important thing to see, is who's going to have, you know, the balls to make that move, who's going to be ballsy to each driver when overtaking or defending. That's going to be a massive thing that we're going to have to wait and see in the next few moments. What do you think?
I think we will see drivers be ballsy. I think we will see drivers taking risks. And I think especially a driver like Suzoy will be trying to take risks. And ultimately, I think we're in for a very, very good race with action from lights to the flag. Just looking at the tyres, we've got a split between medium and hard runners. We've got Ellis on the hards, Gatcher on the hards, Rising Moon and Harrison on the hards, and Phoenix on the hards as well. So most drivers opting for the mediums, but Ellis, if he can stick with the top group, he could be in for an incredibly strong performance today.
Definitely, he showed it. He lost out in the last sector, by the way. He was up by a 10th as well, which wouldn't have gotten him pole, but he would have been on the front row. So he clearly showed that there was some time in the lap still for him, but he just made a mistake in sector 3. So there's definitely a lot. I can hear the beeping going as we're about to get going and go to the lights in the next few seconds. And we're going to see those 5 red lights come on. And here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in Abu Dhabi for FRLT Tier 1. And it's a good getaway from everybody. So Soy getting especially a good getaway from Eston. But Eston's on the inside though. He's still there. He's not giving in. That TTR driver is still sitting in for a chance. He's going to have to slot in behind because he went wider there through turn 3. Now heading down towards the hairpin. Still 3 drivers very close. Here comes Barbans. Takubi trying to go down the inside. And Takubi does go down the inside of Eston. He's going to make the... Oh! Massive collisions further back. Oh my god, there are some drivers getting hit around further back. And I think that's 3 drivers off in the distance. 4, 5. That's 4 drivers, by the way, off in the distance, having collisions. Again, Takubi having another go, trying to go around the outside. But now, Ellis trying to make the move once again. Oh, and there's a spin! Takubi! Oh my god, and Eston both having a spin through the left-right. Holy, what is going on? 10-second penalty to Eston for a severe collision with Takubi. And you can see Ellis trying to fight now with Desktop over P3. He's also trying to fight with Axel at the same time. Oh, bit of a collision there between that lot. Now heading down into the next corner. Ellis trying to make up a position on Axel. He's not able to make the move just yet. And he's going to have to sit in behind. It's now the gap in the lead. 1.6 seconds, all to Soy.
But that was a classic case of too many drivers trying to go into the same corner. And that's a classic turn, like lap 1 incident, because DeVito just got squeezed to the inside. He span round, and then everybody else was just collected in that sort of incident. We saw that in real life in IndyCar with Pato O'Ward spinning just a couple of days ago. And it's been replicated in FRLT today. Barbance is looking to get back up, and his first move is going to be on Rising Moon. He switches to the outside line, but Moon covers it off well as Desktop is looking pretty racy against Ellis, and Barbance gets almost overtaken by Gatcher as they head through the corner. But now going down once again, it's going to be 3 wide just up ahead. Desktop down the inside. Axel trying to hold on to the outside while Ellis is in the middle. But it looks like Axel's been squeezed out, and Ellis and Desktop have made it up into second and third. Ellis, though, wants to take that second place. He takes the slipstream, and around the outside he goes. Desktop allows in the space, and he's up into P2. But side by side, just behind as well, once again, is Gatcher. But this time he's lost a position to Isbrand, and Isbrand is up into P7. He'll be wanting to get further up to help his teammate, who is 2 seconds up on Ellis at the moment. So an incredible start for Suzuki.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. So about the slight pause on the screen. Looking up to the lead, though, at the moment, Soy leading very convincingly out there at the moment without a single problem. YS Brand down in 7th. He needs to make some moves very soon. Very, very soon, by the way. He needs to make some of these moves. Because he's now trailing, P2's trailing his teammate by 2.2 seconds, just over 2 seconds. And, YS Brand's behind quite a few cars in that as well. By the way, all the way down to 12th is all a DRS train at the moment. But looking up ahead, Desktop now making the move on Ellis into turn 7. He almost spins it. And there's also the man of Axel trying to make the move. Just like the man of Ellis did. But he's not able to do it. And now you can see YS Brand fighting with Rising Moon further back. Ellis is going to make his way back past Desktop once again. Here comes the man of YS Brand trying to make a move on either one of these cars in front of him. You can see he's very closed in, all completely boxed in Yeah, it is. It is buggy, by the way. Game sound is completely buggy. For me at the moment, I'm hearing every other car except the cars that are on track. So a little bit of a problem there. Ultimately, Weisbrand just going round. He needs to make up some positions now. Some things not working out. Some drivers, things have really not worked out for. Takubi, DeVito, and Eston, especially Takubi and Eston. Nothing working out for them. Not sure really how to describe the incidents that we saw in lap 1, but from Sasoy's point of view, he doesn't really care because he's off in the lead by 2.7 seconds.
But I wouldn't rule out Takubi just yet because he's looked very racy. He currently holds, if I am right in saying, the fastest lap of this Grand Prix so far. He was desperate to get past Kevin, and he is not out of this race yet because, as you've mentioned before, all of the drivers, as Desktop and Ellis, swap positions. You can look at this DRS train. Every single driver is within DRS all the way down to P12 from P2. So if Takubi can get back, if he can get past Harrison and then up into the DRS train with the drivers in front as it's side by side between Barbance and Axel. Axel trying to keep to the inside line. It switches to the outside for the fast right-handers, and it just looks like Barbance has too much. Axel trying to cling onto the position, but he falls down to P5. But do not rule out Takubi yet in this race. He has been re-overtaken by Kevin in the meantime as I was watching that battle, but he's quick, and don't rule him out.
Yeah, I do agree with you there, but the only problem is he is outside of DRS, and he's got two cars in front of him who are both outside of DRS while he's at it. He has it on the car in front, but two cars, 3.5 seconds is what he's got to try and catch, just to catch up to the back of this DRS train, by the way. Azurk making the move on his teammate into P10. I think NTN let him by more than a proper overtake there. YS Brand, by the way, making his move on Rising Moon for P6. It's taken him 3 laps to make that move, but he's finally done it. And now Gatcha's looking to do the same thing. Desktop once again swapping with Ellis. Gatcha now making the move on Rising Moon. Rising Moon and ART's chances of a podium going down the drain. Oh, a big dive bomb there from Penguin. He really says it. Axel, by the way, must have made a mistake because he's now down to P6. And I don't know what is happening to that CIE driver because he is just dropping further and further back through the field.
I think it's more a case of Isbran being quick through that section of corners than Axel going slowly, because he managed to close in quite quickly and then get the overtake done in the chicane. But he is looking very quick all of a sudden, is Isbrand, and I think he wants to get to the top of this train and manage the pace so Suzuki can break away and take a huge lead. I think it's pronounced Isbrand. I'm not 100% sure.
YS Brand. Literally.
Is it actually a pronounced YS Brand?
Yes.
Okay.
YS Brand, yeah.
Because I know it's a South African thing to say it like that, but Desktop with a massive wobble. And Barbance closing in for that podium position. Desktop made a mistake. Barbance looking to latch on it, but he's not going to be able to. He's going to wait for the DRS. Desktop also has it on Ellis, and I think we could see P2 and P3 shifting all in the space of this back straight. DRS is open for both of the drivers. Desktop closing on Ellis. He's closing. Ellis pushes him to the inside. Barbance to the outside. They're 3 wide. And Barbance heads through into the lead. There's contacts. Ellis is squeezed down. Barbance rides over the curbing. And through goes Isbrand as well. He's going to try to get the move done on Ellis. But it looks like he's just going to have to tuck in behind Axel. Loses another position to Gatcha. And it's side by side between Desktop and Barbance for second place. Barbance squeezes out Desktop onto the outside line. He takes the optimal line of the inside, and it's going to be Ellis continuing to try to fight Desktop. A big wobble, and he's able to stay ahead. Another wobble as he's just trying to stay side by side with Desktop, stay away from the wall. But Desktop manages to hold on to that position. Isbrand, or YS Brand, sorry, is chasing Ellis and almost gets through just there.
By the way, you actually said it right the first time. Nobody's told me this. I have said this for about 2 years now. for months on end, I've said YS brand. It is ES brand. What, bro? Nobody told me. This is just mean.
I'm just
Nobody
better.
told me.
That's what it is.
ES brand. Yeah. Nobody told me this. It's so mean. Nobody told me that this. Ramon, I was counting on you for one thing, my friend. One thing. And you let me run with it for months. But here comes ES brand down the inside of Ellis. Ellis starting to drop back a bit. Do you think he's used up his mediums a little bit too early? He's still fighting here. Oh! Contact! Oh my god, we've seen it again. It's almost like lap 1 again between ES brand and, of course, Ellis. It's almost
That's what you get
like
with all
lap
the
1.
drivers being so close. You get the drivers taking risks to try and take positions, and on that occasion, it didn't work, as Ellis was just trying to hang in there. But all these drivers are still in with a shot of a podium. But at the moment, it looks like Barbance and Desktop, they've built a gap to Gatcher. Gatcher is on those hards. So he's not going to be quite as quick yet. But
no, not
it's
yet.
promising.
But now things are changing. By the way, Sasoi, what do we say about this man? He's off in the lead by 4.2 seconds at the moment, 4.1, but that is coming down, but still 4 seconds off in the lead after just 8 laps. What is there to talk about this man who's on his way to get his 4th win this season?
Zerk and his brand have just made contact. There's not really much you can say. He's got the qualifying pace, and now in the last couple of races, he's been able to pick up with race pace. Yes, he got a little bit lucky today with the fact that there was contact between 2nd and 3rd, but you've still got to be the driver in the lead to avoid that sort of thing. And that's what he's been able to do. He's been able to hook up the qualifying pace. It's absolute chaos, by the way, for battling for P9, as I think that was Phoenix who just went completely into the runoff. He's really shaky. But all these drivers are still competing for the lower positions. But at the moment, it just doesn't look like Sazoi can be topped.
Yeah, he really can't at the moment. I mean, it doesn't matter what's... Now, this lap, Barbance has been able to close in without any real big racing. 2nd penalty of the night. Axel, first drive to get a sort of track limits warning, though. But Barbance is closing in, by the way. He's closed in by about 2/10 from last lap. So Barbance is starting to close in 3/10 now, by the way, as he crossed the line. So maybe Barbance is finding a little bit more time over Sasoi. Maybe it was purely just the battling that was causing Sasoi to stay up in the lead and, you know, extend the gap, because already this lap, he's already lost a 1/10 of a second already. There's
another driver going round. It's Isbrand. Isbrand, he's gone straight into the wall.
Wing damage.
Well, I'm not surprised because he went straight into the wall. He's actually gotten away with it quite a lot there because he's only lost an end plate, but it's really not his day. And it's the first time in a few weeks we can say that the AMS second driver, because that's really what he is, the second driver, has struggled.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he so much struggled. Race pace, he was showing it. Racecraft, he was showing it. But all of a sudden, I think this is the first time let's be honest, I think this is the first time this season that AMS have really shown a bit of, you know, they've had a bit of a rough race with at least one of their drivers. I know they have had a retirement or two this season, but you know what I mean. I think this is the first time that they're really showing that one of their drivers is having an awful weekend compared to just, an unlucky moment for it's like round 1 where Latifi got hit off by, I believe it was Dom. It was said to be Dom. No, I don't think there was a report on that, actually. But it was said to be Dom that knocked him off in round 1 in Belgium. And that was the only other time that was a bad end to a weekend for AMS. But this is the first time that we've seen AMS. Maybe, I don't want to jinx anything. Maybe it's a bit of a Red Bull situation going on a little bit with AMS. Because at the moment, you know, they're falling apart slightly, aren't they?
Well, you got one at the top and one at the back. So it really is like a Red Bull situation.
Nah, but he didn't crash in qualifying. That's the important thing.
He only crashed in the race twice.
Yeah.
He did it
3
twice
times.
to make up for it.
3 times.
Yeah.
Contact with NTN. But by the way, Barbance still closing in. Another 2/10.
I saw that chat as well.
Yeah. He's closing in slowly. Harrison, TIR. How are these? And here comes Phoenix, by the way, on Ellis, who has just fallen back, of course, because of the contact. but TIR slowly making their way into the points. But do you think this is, again, another race where TIR is having to use other incidents happening on track to make their way inside of the top 10? Now, of course, it shows them being clean, but you know what I mean? It isn't actual pace or actual racecraft. It just seems to be purely incidents happening around them that have really gotten them up into the points at the moment. But still, they're only on for 1 point, and so far, their worst amount of points in their campaign.
Well, that's the difference between a driver as Suzuki ducks into the pit. That's the difference between the driver and the setup. The setup can be whatever you like, but at the moment they haven't got the setups right. They have been slow. They have been down the bottom of the grid. But if they can stay clean, which is a driver's job, then they can get up into the points positions. And Harrison and Phoenix are in good positions at the moment in, well, 5th and 6th, but in the lower areas fighting for the points. So I'm not surprised because, well, they have to be good drivers to race in this series. Suzuki comes out 3 seconds basically behind Estember. He's going to want to close that gap. Chat saying it's early. Do you agree with that? Because we've had almost half the grid come in.
Yeah, I would say compared to usual, it's slightly early. Usually on the mediums, you'd want to go maybe till lap 13 or 14. But at the same time, there is the thing of, oh, you're going to catch up. But it's not just that. It's also, there's also, you got to remember, there's the other thing of there's a lot of collisions and a lot of crashes happening. So I think what Sasoi's hoping for is that as he catches up on these fresh tyres and there's incidents that happen, he should catch up.
But also, yeah, it is a case of the incidents
He will last
happen,
till the end on those hards, though. That's no question about it. He will end on those tyres.
Well, he's not really fighting anybody as well, so he does have the opportunity to stay on those tyres.
3-second time penalty, by the way, for multiple warnings. Gonna really hurt his
as he comes into the pits. That's actually unlucky because it sounds like he's been penalised for cutting the corner, but he's actually come into the pits. But
so we'll have to see whether they want that removed afterwards. That will have to go to the stewards, of course. Sasoi back up to P5, and he is far ahead of Barbance, by the way. Miles ahead of Barbance and Desktop. You can see he's already made his way round turn 4 already before they've even entered turn 2. Already, as you can see, he's already at turn turn 5 or turn 6 already.
Somebody couldn't find his track map.
Yeah. Before they're just coming around the hairpin now. He's off in the lead by 7 seconds. He's grown that lead by 3.5 seconds already. And the two behind are fighting as well. So do you think Sasoi has maybe just pulled off a masterclass of a strategy? And even though he's on 1 lap older tyres, that won't affect him too much at the end of the race?
Well, as I was saying, the undercut is so huge on this game. And I think that's what Sasoi's taking advantage of. He's taking advantage of the fact that he's been able to build up this gap of now 7 seconds, even though the lap that he would have put in isn't, like, it couldn't have been 7 seconds faster. There is absolutely no way that his outlap was 7 seconds faster than what Barbance and Desktop have set. All it is the undercut and those tyres being in the optimal working condition as soon as he can possibly get it, which is testament to his driving ability. And I think we're likely to see him come around to get the fastest lap. Indeed, we do with a 1:24.5. But if Sasoi does not win this race from this position, that is going to be an AMS bottle.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think for Sasoi, the main thing here is, of course, one drive outside of the points. Sasoi is on for a win, and a very dominant victory, to say the least, by the way. He's led every lap of this race. This will be the first time this season the single driver has led every single lap. He's, by the way, Sasoi has now been confirmed that he's led the most laps in a row out of any driver this season. Not only in a single race, but also just overall. He's led the most laps in a row now, which is just counted, by the way, to 23, if I'm correct. So Sasoi is really leading this.
Well, technically, he's not actually in the lead of the race. Gatcha is.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, in the
provisional lead, essentially. Yeah, so he's actually the most, by the way, out of anybody. So that's quite that's quite strange to see, isn't it? You know, you don't usually expect to see that out on track. You know, a driver dominating so much. Sasoi, though, on his way for his 4th win of the season, by the way. 4 wins. That is some accomplishment. You've got to say, there's driver around, that's Jelmer who's round. But you've got to say about Sasoi, it's some achievement to have 4 wins out of 6 races. And I think AMS have just found their winning strategy this season. You know, just have Sasoi drive.
Well, they haven't had a consistent second driver to focus on, so they've been able to put all of their efforts into Sasoi, and that's really, I think, made a really positive difference in his performances.
I think last season as well, I think if you watched last season at all, last season, you know, AMS had really big problems with strategy. They had really huge, and let me be honest, huge struggles with consistency. And, you know, of course, the strategies really hurt them last season. They missed out on 1-2s twice. But out of the sort of, you know, out of the, you know, 13 races we had last season, they almost, you know, they had 3 wins at the end of the season, but those 3 wins came from, I think, the last 5 or 6 races of the season. So, you know, when you look at it, they were really strong to end the season. They ended up, you know, starting to outscore, you know, FG in the last few races of the season, but it was never enough to catch. But now, I guess it's time to, you know, we're seeing AMS, I think, put on pure quality with Sasoi. And this is the point where you realize that maybe, I don't think AMS, you know, is walking this championship. Let's make it clear. After tonight, they're not walking the championship. I think we can both agree to that, you know, based off of, you know, one of their drivers being way outside of the points, miles off away from the points. But, you know, nobody's walking it at the moment. But, you know, when you look at the championship and you look at the points, AMS look like that on paper, but I definitely do not think with the drivers that they are walking this.
Well, also there's the fact that they don't have that second driver. It is like Red Bull and Sergio Perez, so they have Max Verstappen or Sasoi in this case, who's just leading by absolute miles in every single race. But then they haven't got that second driver consistently enough to say that they are in a real Constructors' Championship. It's essentially Sasoi and somebody against everyone else, and they need to nail down who that consistent second somebody is.
I definitely do agree with you there.
And I think it should be based on the way that he drove in Kota, Alessio Broghi.
I will agree with you there. I think Alessio Broghi put on probably the best drive out of an AMS driver this season, you know, excluding Sasoi out of that. You know, in his one appearance this season, he's really shown that he has the pace over other drivers. I think he might have done another race. I can't remember exactly, but he's really dominated this season. You know, he's really been that dominant teammate. But at the same time, I think what AMS would like to have is a few 1-2s, because they haven't secured that this season. No team, by the way, has actually secured a 1-2 in this season. You know what I mean? You know, last season we already had, I think, 2 teams. I think 1 or 2 teams walk. I think there's already 1 or 2 1-2s at this point during season 1. But here we haven't had a single one, and you know, of course, it doesn't look like we're on for another, a single one just yet in round 6, which I think is really good, and it's showing the unpredictability of the grid at the moment. But at the same time, the predictability of who's going to win is also becoming a little bit predictable at this rate. You know, we say about the unpredictability of podiums and this driver and that driver, as Sasoi finally makes his way into the lead, into the proper lead now. But you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing at the moment, that the predictability of Sasoi winning is now so overbearing. You know, he's won. He's on his way to win for the 4th time out of 6. That just shows, I think, AMS might, in a way, win-wise, might walk the championship when it comes down to race wins on paper. But as we're seeing with Red Bull in real life, they need to have a bit more of a consistent second driver. You know, don't get me wrong, they've had a consistent ass second driver. You know, we Alessio Brogi, all of these other drivers for their second driver, but you know, this is the first race that I think we're going that maybe they needed possibly Alessio Brogi to be back into the seat again this week to really bring up that podium.
Well, yeah, and also because of the fact that the second, or arguably the second best team, ABE, have probably the strongest and one of the most consistent lineups on the grid, because they've got Barbants, who I'd argue we're being a bit harsh on by saying that Suzuki is walking every race, because Barbants is pushing him close on a number of occasions, and Takubi, who also has the pace to stay up with them. So,
but he has dropped back. He has dropped back though over, you know, last race and this race. He's struggled more to, you know, I know strategy last race was a big thing, but he struggled more to keep up with, you know, these front with Sasoi. You know, after what, round 2, round 3, he really sort of stopped keeping up with Sasoi. And since then, for the last 3-4 races, he's just been really, especially for the last 2 races, he's kind of, you know, he's been sitting this sort of 2-3 seconds behind, you know, in actual race pace. And, you know, strategy has hurt him, but a lot of the time he's been sitting this 2-3 seconds back anyway. And we're seeing it again this race, but to even a worse degree.
I also think that it's track by track. So Ellis was very strong on this track, and I presume still is strong on this track. We just didn't see it because he made contact with somebody. But it could be on a track by track basis. So Takubi could not have been strong at the last couple, but then he could just have an absolute send back up the grid. He could have a really good comeback in the latter part of the season. And I think, yeah, that's just, it's going to have to be something to watch, but I know that Takubi is a quick driver. And I know that he and Barbants, if they were able to hook it up right, could be easily in the lead of this Constructors' Championship right now.
I think, okay, let's have a look at this, at where, you know, teams currently stand. Axel, by the way, just getting overtaken by Rising Moon. AB, since the first few races, fallen away a little bit. I mean, CRE, I think we can both agree on this. CRE are not really in championship running at the moment, because they are, you know, they are substantially off of the championship. I think they're almost 90 points. I think they're 90. I think they're 89 points. Yeah, they are actually 89 points, by the way, away from the championship leaders, which I know is only, I think, 62 with the champion, with second or whatever. But you know what I mean. There's such a big gap between them. But this race, CRE, we've got to say, CRE may be coming out as second favourites as overall as a team. Once again, you know, they're on their running for P2 and they're on their running for P2 and P4 when they cross the line. Of course, penalties will send, I think, Axel down to P6, potentially, possibly P7. But, you know, Desktop on his way to P2. You've got to say, though, as a team, as a team so far, the strongest overall team has been AMS. You know,
well, I don't
ABE,
think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah. I think ABE, you know, even as a 2-driver lineup, they've easily, you know, their best finish was P1 and P4, which I think they've done two times now this season, 2-3 times. But, you know, I think ABE, I think strategy errors have caused them to struggle more. But they've definitely had a very strong lineup, you know, Barbants and Takubi. I mean, CRE, they've had their struggles, but again, their driver lineup is usually rather close, not so much in qualifying, but a lot more during the races. But I think a team that we've... Desktop actually goes off track, by the way. But the team that we've actually got to talk about, who's actually probably been the most consistent and potentially the second or third most strongest lineup, is 12 Esports. P6 and P7 at the moment, and I know that you might go, oh, that's not out in front. But when it comes down to how close teammates are, 12 Esports have been the closest that you can get.
And they've been working together on quite a few occasions as well, which is, it's a benefit for maybe, even if they don't have the quickest qualifying pace or the quickest one-lap pace, working together is so important. And they started P15 and P12, which is a reminder. But
yeah,
they've just built their way up. And I know NTN has a penalty, but they have been strong. And Azurk is just going around the outside of Rising Moon now. Rising Moon fighting back, trying to squeeze Azurk out as wide as he possibly can while keeping him on the track. The side by side as Zerk just tucks back in behind Rising Moon for now. But anyway, that's the first commentary we've had over any racing action in a few laps.
It's been a little while. Gatcha, by the way, just made his way up into P10. So MAR back into the points once again this season. By the way, back up into the points. They're slowly getting there, aren't they? They're slowly scoring 1-2 points here and there. Ellis as well, by the way, making the move. Penguin just dropping back. I think he's got wing damage. Yeah, he does.
And Gatcha is rapid in comparison to the rest of the grid. I have been watching the chat and I have been on board with
fresh mediums. Yeah, he's on fresh mediums. That's why.
Takubi, he's got pace over Harrison and Phoenix as well.
By the way, Takubi, he's struggling a bit here. He looked fast, but now overtaking wise, he's struggling a bit. Rising Moon gets back past Axel. But yeah, so at the moment. This is the thing though. ART, do you think they're coming out as a sort of secret, as like almost like a secret sort of third place team at the moment? I know they're fourth in the constructors, but you know what I mean, because they've had the least amount of penalties, by the way, out of any team on the grid. I have actually checked this. They've had the least amount of penalties out of anyone. But they keep on sneaking up onto the podium and sneaking inside of the top 5, especially with Rising Moon. Kevin coming back in this race means that he's going to be up into P6, by the way. So, he gets a penalty now. Oh, no, Kevin. Why, Kevin?
Commentator's curse?
Yeah. But Rising Moon, on his way for another P4 finish. And, of course, he's hoping to close up a bit more to Barbant, or Barbant gets another penalty to possibly send him to P3 and back onto the podium. But this is exactly the thing during this point in the race, isn't it? This is exactly the thing. ART had a bit of a slow start to their season. Of course, they got that podium in, I think, round 2 or round 1. But they've had a bit of a slow start to their season. But then they've really pulled it back in the last sort of 4 races. They've really been pushing hard. And they're on for double points. Penguin retires in the pit lane. And it's almost a reverse reaction that we've seen between two teams, by the way. TTRE, incredibly fast off the start of the season. Pole position, I think, in the opening race, podiums, this, and then really struggling, especially this race, 16th and 17th. I think first time this season they won't be scoring, I think second time back-to-back races they won't be scoring points, by the way. But then we see the team of ART had a slower start to the season, same as AERO as well, both having a slower start to the season, and then all of a sudden, sort of 2-3 races in, they just pull it back when TTRE starts struggling. Do you think it's just coincidence, or is it purely maybe some other teams putting in a bit more resources, a bit more time into these races?
I think it all goes back to the fact that certain drivers suit certain tracks, and it must have just been a case of TTRE. Although, having said that, they both qualified very, very high. So today, it's a little bit of an anomaly, and we can't really base that pace-wise on anything to do with TTRE.
I mean, they had that last race as well. Two different drivers last week. And they also had the same problem last week. They didn't score any points. So, and the previous week, they barely scored points. I think they only got 6 points the previous week. Yeah. In some way, I think when you look at it, there's the ups and downs of it. Rising Moon now going for P4, by the way. They are catching up to P3 at the moment. They are slowly catching up bit by bit. I think they caught up by about a 10th this lap. Yellow flag. Somebody's going slowly. I'm not sure who that
Kevin.
is. It's Kevin. Okay, he's dropped back a bit. But yeah, so this is going to be an important time during the race because it's an important part of the season now because we're going into a break week next week, so we're not going to be here, which is going to be quite sad. But even though we are having a break week, I think it is going to help some teams to maybe regain some focus, come back stronger into the next part of the season, into the final half of the season, especially with, for instance, TIR. Oh, YS Brand's round.
You want to try that pronunciation again?
East Brand, yes, I know.
There we go.
I'm gonna forever say YS Brand because I can. East Brand, his day's just gone from terrible to worse to just Jesus Christ, no words for it at all. But yeah, so I think he's going to retire in the pits, to be honest. Yeah, I think he's done with his day. Only our second retirement. Takubi going up to P7. He's fighting, by the way, with NTN for P7. So maybe another 2 more points coming ABE's way here tonight, which will be, I think, something nice for ABE to come away from. But don't rule out Takubi at all. Rising Moon once again. Ooh, a little bit of contact with NTN there as NTN dives down this inside once again. But you could just see Takubi's going to come out on top in P7. And that's a nice fresh move for Takubi and ABE. But he's got 3 more places in front. He will gain 1 because he doesn't have a penalty. So he will go up to P6 anyway. But he's hoping he get past the next 2. And by the way, Azek also trying to have his go at Rising Moon at the same time. Going around there. Oh! Look at Axel. He's gone really far off of light. He's really struggling. Here comes Takubi up on the inside. He's going to go for both. A double overtake coming from Takubi. Around the outside he goes. His spidey senses are off the wall at the moment. He feels a double overtake. And he's going to try and make 3 wide. 3 wide. Oh! Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy Rising Moon off in the wall. Oh my god. What is happening here tonight? Where is any driver quality? Where's the driving standings gone? Azuk now up in P4. Takubi P5. I don't know what to say.
Well, that was entertaining. But there has been a lot of incidents tonight, and the drivers have been actually quite lucky, most of them, to avoid contact. We could be having fighting now as Rising Moon does retire from the session in the pit lane, which is a disappointment. But unfortunately, that's just the way his race has gone today. With the crashes, there's almost a spin from Axel, and that allows Gacha into the fight for P7. DRS will be open for the MAR man. He's going to try to close in on Axel as they head down now, but he is just going to have to tuck in behind. He doesn't have the straight line speed that Axel has, but he's going to wait to leech on another mistake, because there certainly is going to be another mistake in Axel. But at the moment, this race for P4 has completely just shifted.
I think there is going to be a post-race talk, maybe about the incidents today, because we have had many off for this. I think we can both be honest here. I think this is the most incidents we've had in a single race this season. Phoenix gets a 3-second time penalty. I think we could both agree on this.
In tier 1. I don't know if you watched tier 4 the other day.
Yeah.
Or the 4s even.
Yeah.
That was fun. Trying to remain neutral and not say anything about any of the incidents.
That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, definitely there'll be quite a bit of controversy and quite a bit of chatter about lap 1 and kind of the whole race as a whole with driving standards. And to be honest, I can't see why there won't be any. By the way, I can't see why there won't be any talks about this. But Desktop now, still chasing after Barbance. I don't think he's trying to make a move, let's be honest. I don't think he's just waiting in behind to get that P2. Barbance will confidently finish P3. Takubi on his way for P5 though. So possibly P4. So I mean, Takubi, if he comes away with some nice double points for, ABE, P2, P3 and P4, that'd be a really strong night for them, won't it?
Yeah, and it backs up what I was saying about them being the strongest driver lineup on the grid, because I think they would be the ones to take the most points out of this weekend, I believe, if I'm doing my maths correctly.
Depending on penalties, and it have to be post-race.
Well, yeah, and also Barbance's penalty did come as a result of coming into the pits, so he may well contest that. So that should be something that Desktop, who went in at around the same time as Barbance, that will be something that he will take into consideration, I think, because he will know that Barbance may want to argue it if he indeed saw what happened as he entered the pits, as Ellis picks up a 3-second time penalty. It's not been his day today.
No, his race is
from
really
something that looked like it was going to be his race. It's just not ended up that way, and he's outside the points as Zerk drops down positions. It's side by side between Takubi and Kevin. Kevin with an incredible move to stay ahead, but it squeezes Takubi out, and that means Zerk can come back at him, and he's going to go through. There's contact between Zerk and Takubi. Takubi does incredibly well to stay keeping the car in a straight line, but Azurk's through. Takubi looking to go down the inside of Kevin. He's going to get the track position. Is he going to be able to? Not quite stay alongside Kevin, but he's going to look around the inside. Kevin got momentarily distracted ahead, and Takubi, he's going to tuck him behind, but the opportunity was there for him to make the overtake as Ellis goes round, just adding to his miserable day.
Yeah.
But there we go. These drivers are still fighting.
Another very, very close incident. Almost another crash once again. Very dangerous from Azurk, we will say, I think. Very, very, very dangerous. Moving over like that. Almost taking out Takubi while he was at it. 2 laps remaining of the race, by the way. And Sasoi, the man who was pretty much, let's be honest, who's pretty much led every lap of this race. I think he hasn't led, what was it, 4 laps of this race? I think he's going to end this race with 23 or 24 laps led. So Sasoi just putting in the numbers at the moment. He's very much on a Max Verstappen season so far, isn't he? 2023 Max Verstappen very much on top of the world at the moment for the man who's going to lead the championship. By the way, out of this race, by the way, just to say, the Drivers' Championship, the Drivers' Champion last season had scored, I think, 92 points or something like that, as the man Takubi who won the championship. So Soy is going to surpass that in points, by the way, after this race, as we now head on to the final lap of the race. So Sasoi on his way to already break the championship lead record and go to, I believe he's going to go to 102 or I think 101 or 102 points after this race, possibly 103. I think it's 101 or 102 after this race, by the way. So I think it is 102 that he will go to. So Sasoi on his way to breaking some records here tonight at the same time. He's already broken one record, by the way. He's on his way to break another. But we got to look further behind to Takubi, who'll be wanting redemption on the man of Azurk, who almost killed his race earlier on. And now heading down the pit, heading down the back straight once again. There's going to be a fight out in front, but here comes Alpha Kevin once again down the inside of Azurk. He's trying to make the move. He's going to try and hold it. He can't hold it. There is Takubi. He's making a very big move. Look at that. Azurk makes a mistake. It allows Takubi through. He's going to open the DRS. He's still fighting with Kevin. I think Kevin knows he's not going to cross the line in front. Bit of fighting further back between Gacha and Azurk. And now into the next left-hander. They're still battling. They're still battling it. But look at Axel. He's dropped down a few places now. He's down to P8. And I think he's given up slightly. And now heading round. But we've got to look to the final corner with Sasoi crossing line. He wins here in Abu Dhabi. Once again. 4th time this season. Barbants will cross the line second. But it will be Desktop who finishes second with Barbants in 3rd. Kevin's going to cross the line in 4th. But it'll be Takubi in 5th. In 4th. And it's going to be a P3 and P4. Huge points for ABE, scoring the most points out of anyone. Harrison's going to finish P8, by the way. Axel down to P9. NTN finishing P10. And in the points, 11 points scored for 12 Esports once again tonight. Woo, 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 woo. What a crazy one. We see Estembar down in P12. We can see Phoenix crossing the line. We've only got 3 drivers left. And the man of Sasoi is the man who ultimately takes the victory. 7.2 seconds. Nobody really closed in on him in this race. But no words for Sasoi. Absolute top quality once again from the top quality driver. Top quality race for a top quality driver. Sasoi, 4th win of the season out of 6. He really is on a dominant run at the moment.
And he thoroughly deserved that victory ahead of anybody else, because just the strategy call, just the pace he had at the start. And you do have to get a little bit lucky, but he certainly used that luck to full effect.
I've just realised he's had a hat-trick of wins. Hat-trick of wins now. That's the first. He's done another record. This man is really just breaking records here today. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to break records. And that's what he's doing.
And 7/10 ahead of desktop is absolutely mental numbers.
Yeah.
And so he will be happy with that. AMS will be happy with that.
Yeah.
And for me, driver of the day.
Yep. I think let's have a look down the grid. We've got to do the grid order before it goes away. Ultimately, it is the man of Sasoi who wins this race from pole. He's led, by the way, confirmed 24 laps of this race, so very dominant. Desktop finishes second from 7th to 2nd. Very good day for the CRE driver. Barbance finishes third after he started third. Takubi making up that one place after a lap 1 collision. Azurk down in P5. Very big day for 12 Esports with Gatcher in 6th. Kevin in 7th. Harrison in 8th. Another 4 points for TIR. Axel in 9th. NTN finishes 10th. The last of the point scorers with Jelmer in 11th. Estenbar in 12th. Phoenix 13th. Ellis in 14th. DeVito 15th. Weisbrand 16th. And our retirees Rising Moon and Penguin. Well, well, well. What a race that was. And what a race to talk about. I know we're going to be seeing a few reports come in. I definitely expect to be seeing a few reports come into the drivers. And from the drivers, sorry. But what was your opinion on that race?
I think there was a lull in the middle where it did become a little bit of a DRS train, but realistically, that was just...
racing. It's what racing is.
I know. I was hoping for a little bit more action, though. But we certainly got our fill right at the start and right at the end.
I do agree with you. I very much do agree. Ultimately, that is the night. That is that. And that is the race all over and done with. We'll be back again tomorrow for Tier 2, by the way. If anybody is wondering, we'll be back once again tomorrow for Tier 2. Ultimately, I hope everybody has an absolute amazing night. Ultimately, go and follow us on Twitter and also make sure to go and follow us on Instagram as well. We're on there. I believe the links are down below. Also, come and join our Discord server, which is the link is down below, by the way. So make sure to go and join off of that. Hope everybody has a great evening. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like to the channel. It is very much appreciated. Very much do enjoy it, and thank you so much. It shows some support. Ultimately, thank you to all of the managers and drivers who allow us to race, and also thank you to my good friend Kotz over here, who's on the right of me. Not literally, but who's on the right of me here tonight, and ultimately has been a very useful person here tonight, and has been very good this season. We've got a break week next week, so you guys won't see us next Tuesday, but we'll be back the week after. I ultimately hope everybody has an amazing week. Any last words, Kotz?
Subscribe to me. It's spelled the same way as you can see here. We've got more viewers than we did last time, so I'll hopefully get something out of that.
Yeah, we're hoping. Ultimately, thank you so much, everybody. I hope everyone has an amazing week, and we'll see you very soon. Bye. And Sundays, but here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights.
have you learned?